Approved. Today, we're going to learn how to make cinnamon rolls. For the first time in my life, I'm going to open up my book to somebody else that I haven't shared for 13 years. This is my recipe book I've been working on for 13 years of my life, and nobody's ever seen the inside of it, except for you today with cinnamon rolls. For the full recipe, check the comment box below. And if you want more videos like this and seeing every single page of my recipe book, make sure to follow for more videos. So our first step, we're gonna take a stick of butter, 4 ounces, take the thing off first, and melt it. Now that our butter is melted all the way, we're gonna add 1 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of water. We're gonna use this liquid to activate our yeast, so we want it to be lukewarm, but not boiling. Once our liquid is lukewarm, we're gonna go ahead and put it in a bowl. You're gonna add 2 tablespoons of yeast. 1, 2. And 1 teaspoon of sugar to help activate it. Take a whisk and mix it all together. We're gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes to let the yeast bloom. Okay, after about 5 minutes, you can see your yeast is bloomed and broke down. At this point, we're gonna add 2 eggs and a tablespoon of vanilla. You're gonna take your whisk and you're gonna bring that all together. Make sure you break down your 2 egg yolks. Okay, so from this point, all of our liquids combined, our yeast is bloomed, ready to go. If you have a KitchenAid, this would be the perfect time to use it. If you have a dough hook, you're gonna add your dry ingredients to that and then your liquid to it. But I understand not everybody has one, so we're gonna do this by hand. So either 650 grams of flour or 4.5 cups. A half a cup of sugar. And a teaspoon of salt. We're gonna take a spatula and we're gonna bring this all together. Now how I do this, I come around the side and just incorporate and make sure that it's all blending together at once. Now that we have it incorporated and it's a crumb, we're gonna flour a table and we're gonna knead it onto our table. So, flip it out. If you flour your hands, this will make it a lot easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and press in, fold over, and spin. Press in, fold over, spin. Okay, now that our dough is a little bit together, it's not nice and smooth yet, but since we have worked our gluten, we need to let it sit and rest for a little bit. So I'm going to just flour my table, put the bowl back over it, and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes to let that gluten relax, and then we're gonna work it some more. Okay, my house runs a little bit cold up here in Alaska, so it took about 20 minutes. But see how it kind of pushes back on it and it's not as tight. So we're gonna go ahead and work this just a little bit longer until it's smooth. Now if you had it working in the KitchenAid with a dough hook, you can just let it run because it will smooth it out for you. Okay, that's about as smooth as I'm going to get it. It's not perfect, but it will turn out perfect. So from this point, you want to take a clean bowl, spray it down. We're gonna go ahead and throw our dough in there, spray the top, put some plastic wrap over it. From this point, what I do to proof it is put it in the oven with a boiling pot of water. So just like this, I have my boiling pot of water and my dough. Okay, now that our dough is proofing, in the meantime, we're going to make our filling and our icing. So for our filling, we need 8 ounces of butter, 2 sticks, 2 cups of brown sugar, and 4, yes, I said 4 tablespoons of cinnamon. I know that's a lot. Just go buy a bulk one. You'll be fine. I'm not going to measure it out because I feel more cinnamon the better. They're cinnamon rolls, right? Okay, so a trick for this, so that way you don't get cinnamon all up in the air, we just want to slightly turn it on and off. So on, off, on, off. Now that our butter's broken down a little bit, it will hold everything and we can turn the speed up and really whip it together. So we're gonna do that now. We wanna make sure at some point that we scrape our bottom. So what I do is I just take the paddle and I use the paddle as a spatula. And this still has a long way to go. So as you can see, that definitely needed a solid 10 plus minutes to cream together, but we really wanted to bring our brown sugar and our butter together to make it spreadable so it's nice and light and brown. So what I'm gonna do now is just move it to another bowl and hold it and wait until my dough is proofed. And of course, the best cinnamon rolls in the world wouldn't be complete without the best frosting. So we're gonna take 6 ounces of cream cheese. We're gonna whip this together with 4 ounces of butter. So 6 ounces of cream cheese, 4 ounces of butter. We're gonna go ahead and let this whip up together. Now that our butter and cream cheese is whipped together and all the little dots of cream cheese is broken down, I'm gonna take just a spit of milk in here. I don't know, teaspoon. About a half teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I'm gonna scrape the bottom of the bowl. And then we're just gonna whip this back together. So that way the water or the milk doesn't all whip out on you. You can just turn it on and off until it incorporates a little bit. And then go ahead and whip it up. Okay, now that that is fully whipped up, you can add your cup and 3/4 of powdered sugar. Unless you want to make a complete mess of your house, do not turn this on. Take your paddle and scrape the bottom of the bowl and let it slightly incorporate and just mix it yourself until it comes together. Put our paddle back on. Turn it on to 10. No, I'm kidding. Just turn it on and off. On, off. Until it kind of comes together. And then whip that back together. Now that we've incorporated our powdered sugar, it looks more like frosting than icing to me right now. So I'm going to add a little bit more milk. This is more of a glaze for our cinnamon rolls. So just a little bit more milk. And I'm going to incorporate this back together. Now that we've incorporated our milk, it looks a lot more liquidy, right? So this will be perfect for our cinnamon rolls. Now that our glaze is done, we can hold it in this bowl until our cinnamon rolls are done. I'm a big fan of the least amount of dishes as possible. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours. Our dough proofed up here perfectly. What we want to do now is we want to just let this sit at room temp for about 15 to 20 minutes and cool down, so that way it holds its body as we roll it out. So we're going to do that now. Okay, now that our dough is set at room temp for about 15 or 20 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and roll it out. So you want a nice clean surface, flour it, and flip our dough right on here. I'll show you how that's done. I like to push it down first. Okay, take your rolling pin. Now see how it's sliding a little bit right here? What I like to do, I like to just flip it over. Now we don't want this to be super thin, okay? If we make it paper thin, it won't come out nice and fluffy. So, I don't know, that's about 1/4 inch, I should say. So now that we have our dough rolled out, we want to aerate it so it doesn't snap back on us like kind of like a rubber band as we pick it up. So let's just aerate it, kind of square it off here a little bit. And at this point, we want to add our cinnamon mixture we made earlier. Now, if the butter has thickened up on you and it's not spreadable, you can pop it in the microwave for, I don't know, 10 seconds, but you don't want to melt it. So something I've had a struggle with over the years is not using all this. So we don't want to cake this onto our dough. We just want a nice thin layer. So I'll show you what that looks like. I use more than I need at first, and I goop it all on here, and I take it off as I don't need it. So take a spatula, spread it out. Okay, now I know your instinct is the more of the spread, the better. But unfortunately, as it bakes, this will all run out and then crystallize on the bottom of your cinnamon roll. And then it'll be like super crunchy and hard and not nice. So like I said, we want a soft layer, a thin layer. So I'm gonna take my spatula and take off what I don't need. So I go like this. So right here looks about perfect. I know we have a couple little bald spots, which is fine because it's gonna roll. So you get that flavor everywhere. And you can just save this for your next one. This is just butter and sugar. It's not gonna go bad. So what I do here is I actually smush the back end of it. So as we roll it up, right, this acts as a sticky tail and grabs the roll and won't unravel on you. So we're gonna go ahead and smush it all down. And then we're gonna start with one end. We don't have to do it all at once. But we're gonna pull and slightly just pinch, right? So pull and pinch, pull, pinch, pull, pinch, pinch, pinch. Now that you did your first layer, now we can just, with all of the whole thing, you can go ahead and just roll. So we made our log. Okay, now that we have our log made, we need to cut our cinnamon rolls. So what I always do is I cut the tail off first because these won't proof up right. And what I normally do, I just from my knuckle to my fingertip kind of thing, right? So, right? And then we can use this one as our guide. We just, right? But really, I just use my fingertip. Now this last one is going to be bigger, but that's fine because we just want to cut this tail off. Great, so now that we have all of our cinnamon rolls cut, there's a couple things we can do. We can throw them in the freezer. They hold in Ziploc bags pretty well for about a week. Or we can bake them all off now. If you only want to bake a couple off, a cake pan, something small works. But I'm going to bake all these off today. So I'm going to take a 9x13. I'm going to spray it down pretty well. All right. We're gonna go ahead and place them 3. And I got 12 exactly, perfect. And now that we have all of our cinnamon rolls placed, we're gonna pop it back into the oven as our proofer. Okay, our cinnamon rolls have been proofed and they look fantastic. So we're gonna go ahead and take off our plastic, and we're gonna let these slightly air dry for about 5 minutes. And while they're drying, we're gonna go ahead and just make some classic egg wash. I personally don't like using my egg whites in my egg wash, so I'll save them aside. So now that we've separated our yolks, you can use milk, but cream obviously has a lot more fat, so we're gonna go ahead and use the cream. Mix it on up. Okay, now that our cinnamon rolls have sat for about 5 minutes, they're dry to the touch. In that 5 minutes, I preheated my oven to 325, and now we're gonna just egg wash them and pop them in. We're gonna start at 15 minutes and check them from there. So here we go. So it's been about 20 minutes. They look fantastic, but I'm not getting the color I want out of them. So I'm actually gonna bump up the oven to 350 now. Okay, after bumping up the heat to 350, it took about 8 more minutes. And the best way to find out if they're done is if we just press down and that it holds that top shape right there. So that guy. These look fantastic. So we're gonna pull these out. We're gonna immediately glaze them. Okay, I just took my cinnamon rolls out of the oven. They're still extremely hot. We have our glaze here. See, nice and runny. Just gonna go ahead and put it on while it's all hot and let the heat do the work for us. Now we're gonna let these sit for a few minutes and just let that heat melt the glaze. And then we're gonna take a bread knife and we're gonna cut into them and see how they look. So don't touch them yet. So now that we've glazed our cinnamon rolls and they've sat for a minute, you can go ahead and cut into them. The world's best cinnamon roll. So there you go. That's how you make the world's best cinnamon rolls. If you like this video, like it and subscribe and look for others. I'll be making videos weekly out of my personal recipe book. So I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again.